Hello, everybody.
Hi there.
Charlie and Linda Bloom are here with you again today to inquire into the I word. Now, all the people who know us know that one of the things that we teach about a lot is intimacy, but we're talking about the other I word, which is also of critical importance to the well being of a partnership. And the I that we're talking about today is integrity. And I don't believe that this subject gets the attention that it really is due because it is so foundational if you want to have a great relationship. If you want to go for the gold, then each person needs to make a commitment in their own heart and in their own mind to living a life of integrity. And when in a partnership, that kind of a holy vow is made, you're going to have a solid foundation that it's going to be really hard to rock that partnership. And it's something that we grow into over time. Before I go any further, I would like to define the term because people sometimes throw words around without being specific about their definition. The definition that Charlie and I use when we teach about this and when we work with people in our counseling practice is when what we say and feel and think and do is all lined up as one. Because the root of the word integrity is integer, which means whole number, one. So if you can remember when it's all lined up as one, and anybody who's taken on this commitment to living in integrity knows that getting all those pieces working together as one is quite a bit of work. There are also some definitions that are sort of colloquial. Do you know they're not the literal definition, but sometimes people say it's walking your talk. And sometimes people say what goes around comes around. And so this is all in keeping with when we live a life of integrity, what comes back round on us is of a positive nature, usually, that enhances our life and enhances our relationship. When we walk our talk, when we live from our core values, our life is more likely to work well for us.
Yeah, that last piece about living from our core values, that's kind of the essence of it. I mean, that is walking your talk. That is embodying that which you truly hold as an essential aspect of who you are. So that feeling of oneness is something that we have all at some time in our lives experienced. And that's really one of the primary things that draws us into relationship in the first place. It's one of our motivations. it's the desire to connect with somebody in a way that activates that feeling in me that, oh yeah, this is who I am. This is true for me. This is what I'm experiencing right now in the process of being in this connected relationship with this person is affirming my wholeness. And what's kind of paradoxical about this in terms of integrity is that what draws us to somebody else is this feeling that we're not always experiencing that wholeness. And when we're with them, we're more likely to feel that feeling of infatuation, that feeling of, wow, I want this to last forever. That's the feeling of oneness. So we say, I love you, but actually what we're really saying is, I love who I am when you and I are connected, when you're with me, when our relationship is really solid when we are present fully in the moment, then I love that feeling. And so we get, we can confuse the person who's activating that feeling in us with them. And that's where we get into trouble, because that's when, oh, I want this to last forever. I don't want to lose this. Well, guess what that means I'm going to be trying to do? And that is to control you, to keep things the way they are, to keep us in a relationship that is close enough, but not so close that I lose myself, but close enough so that I feel this at the same time.
So we're way better off, instead of minding somebody else's business and trying to fix them up a little bit to be the partner of our dreams, to keep our attention on ourselves. We've got a tall order just paying attention to the ways in which we're out of integrity, even if it's small ways. And part of the work of getting back into integrity so that we're bringing our best self to the partnership, hopefully they're doing it at the same time,
Yeah.
is to keep our attention on ourselves, and particularly to listen in on our own mind for the rationalizations and the justifications that we make up to make it okay, or make it sort of okay.
I just want to make something clear here, because I know that there's a lot of people out there and that we've spoken to who have made what I consider to be the mistake of thinking that, well, I need to find this wholeness, this oneness within myself, and if I'm dependent upon somebody else to feel that, that's not okay. And we're not saying that at all.
No.
Because part of the wholeness and the oneness that we are has to do with our ability to meaningfully connect with another person. And for that, we need to experience being available to them from our core being, from our willingness to be fully authentic in our lives, so that we can have that. It's not an either or thing. Either I'm totally self-sufficient and independent, or else I'm dependent upon somebody else to make me whole. No, it's both.
So we're from the both and school of thought, not the either or school of thought. But there's likely to be one in the pair who may be wanting to meddle in the other person's business too much, and they need to individuate and keep their attention on themselves, listen in on their own mind, put their corrections in when they catch themselves red-handed with the rationalizations, justifications for why they're not living the commitment that they made to themselves or the other person, put the corrections in. The other person in that pair is likely to be, the more self-contained system, for them to be in integrity with themselves, and also to honor the integrity and the well-being of the relationship. We call that stretching into the other person's world. So both people's core values need to be in play in the relationship. So Charlie's always had a core value about freedom. And it's been lessons in letting go for me quite a lot to respect his core value of freedom. My core value at the top of my list is loving connection. That didn't come as easily to Charlie, but knowing me as well as he did, as early on as he did, to respect my core value, that to be in integrity with my life, I need that in my life. And so we do this dance. I call it the dance of love and freedom, where we come close and we really honor my core value, and I let go, and I have my friends and my interests and my activities and my career, and I honor your need for solitude and freedom, because it's core for you, and you will be out of sorts and won't be in integrity with yourself unless you give an abundance of time to that.
Yeah, and I think that we need to make it clear again that we're not talking about black and white either or one or the other. We're talking about different degrees of valuation. So it's not that I have never valued um, the, the richness of relationship.
No, it's a continuum.
Yeah, it's a continuum. And it's not that you've never valued freedom, but in terms of our own individual hierarchy of desires, that for me, it's higher on my priority list to live in integrity with myself, and subordinating the commitment to relationship is very important, but it's secondary to that. And for you, it's the other way around. But we both value both of those things.
That's right.
And one of the reasons I think that we were really kind of drawn to each other is on some level we knew that there was something that we could give and receive from each other that would basically enhance the fullness of our own being.
That's exactly right. And coming to our own wholeness and our own fullness was something that we committed to early in the relationship. And so we used all the differences.
Yeah.
There are other values too. There are other core values like honesty, that maybe one in the pair is stronger in that area than the other, and they can be the standard bearer and influence the other person to hold a higher standard of honesty. There could be one in the pair who's more of a risker and more courageous. I thought in many ways that was you. And my impulse and my value was to be more around comfort and security and predictability.
Well, I want to just say something about that. That is relative to different domains.
Right.
So your willingness to risk emotional vulnerability has always been much greater than mine. Now,
I'm strong in that area.
We're closing the gap there.
Yes, because we've learned from each other.
Yeah.
But about taking chances, like with investments, for instance, that was real stretchy for me. And you took the lead in that, and I was willing to experiment with you and take some chances.
Yeah. Well,
and buying this house was another example where I thought maybe we were, reaching too high. And you were the stand for risk. And so there's going to be different ends of the spectrum, but if you have a commitment to your own integrity and you want to grow whole, and you have a commitment to growing in integrity in the relationship to grow stronger and more whole, then you learn from these differences. And I'm really grateful about learning about risking and holding a high standard of integrity and honesty. And I know that you've learned a lot about closeness from me.
Amazing, a lot.
That's
and
enhanced
I'm very
both
grateful
of our lives.
to you for modeling that, and for helping me to become more courageous in that domain.
Right.
I want to say one other thing about these differences that I think probably a lot of the people that are watching us now can relate to, which is that that one person is stronger in certain areas. It doesn't have to be, the ones that we're talking about, but that there's some complementarity there, that where one person might be shy, another person might be more outgoing. One person might be an introvert, the other person might be an extrovert. One person might be more adventurous, the other one might be more of a homebody. So these are these are differences that actually are responsible for drawing people into our lives, that can really help us to expand our ability to move into a wider world. And yet they are also the very things that cause the most difficulties.
That's right.
In the relationships, because there's this impulse that so many of us have to want the other person to be like us. So when one of us is trying to get the other person to be more the way they are, and the other person is trying to do the same thing, that's really a prescription for disaster.
Trouble.
So there's a lot of trouble that's possible if we don't see that this person's got something of value to offer me.
But it's a different form when you're living out of your own value,
Yeah.
and you're reporting out the beauty and the richness of that value
Right.
to the other person. That's leading by example.
That's right.
That's being the inspiration.
Right.
I have been strong in commitment. I feel like it was just born right in me. And I know that that was something that I was challenged to step into the leadership role with you around.
Yeah.
And instead of trying to force it or cajole you into it or guilt trip you into it or the unskillful means, just to live it. To live it and to explain to you why this is such a core value for me, why I feel like it's so foundational, and invite you to look at it in a different way rather than being a prison or a cell, you know, and somehow you were boxed in and lose your freedom, that you could see that it, you know, the commitment is so foundational that it's not the commitment to do what you want to do, or not the freedom to do what you want to do, but to be who you are.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that really helped me to become less commitment phobic, which I was in the early days, because I saw that what you were committed to was not keeping us in a box called marriage. What you were committed to was not about making sure that come hell or high water, we're going to hang in there and we're going to stay no matter what, because that really infringed upon my commitment to personal freedom. And I didn't see how that, you know, the two of us who were so discrepant in terms of our understanding of commitment and our commitment to commitment itself, I didn't see how that could really work until I saw that it wasn't commitment itself, but it was actually what is it that we are committing to. And that when I began to realize and understand
That's spacious.
yeah,
It's big.
We were not committed to hell or high water. We're going to tough it up no matter what.
No, we were committed to a very creative process, something that could fit us both.
We were committed to the process.
And meet our needs, both of us. There's another value. I've been strong in the value, this goes along with commitment, of self-discipline. And I'm the form and structure person. And so, left to my own devices, wouldn't have had as much fun in my life because of
That's where I come in.
your values of freedom and your values of creativity and relaxation and enjoying and savoring the moment has really influenced me. So I can still have my value, strong value, on self-discipline, being conscientious, being determined, you know, all that. I can have that, but I can loosen up about
Another
it.
example where
Your
it's
value
not,
has served me.
it's not either or, either one or the other. It's, you got to have both.
Right. And I want to impress upon the listener that living your values is so important, and the values that your partner have may be equally important to them, and to honor their values, to find out what they are and to help them get it, and to know what our values are and to present them to the partner in an inviting way.
Okay.
That's a good
Yeah.
deal. It's
However,
a good
I know that there's somebody or some people out there listening who are saying, yeah, that's a good theory, but what if their values, because, you know, in some relationships, values are so discrepant that there isn't the ability on either person to get behind the other ones. So what do you do then? What do you do if somebody's core value is in conflict with yours?
I would say the value of respect comes into play, because you really can't change another person. And if their value is so different from your own, and you want to stay in that relationship, you need to find a way to respect how different they are from you without making it bad and wrong. They're not wrong. They're only different. And that is a piece of work, because I know some people are polarized about different attitudes that they have. But if you want to have a relationship integrity, you've got to stretch it to be spacious enough to fit both people's styles. I wanted to say something about this opposites attract business. I realize that not everybody believes in that. And of course, there are similarities in our background, similarity in our taste and style, similarities in our life goals, which bind us together, which bond us. And those are wonderful. But I also believe that some very deep part of us knows that the differences can enhance too. Not just the stylistic differences, not just the lightweight preferences, but the deeper values differences. They can enhance if we use them. They can enhance our life and stretch us and grow us. They can enhance us as an individual and us as a partner. And I think that we're a good example of that. We have a lot of ways where our values overlap. We have a lot of ways where our styles and interests and life goals overlap. And man, we've got plenty of differences, and they're strong.
Well, I think that this is an important time to distinguish the difference between core values and preferential choices that people make. The core values are the fundamental underlying qualities that characterize what feels essential to a human being.
And integrity, honesty, openness, transparency,
well, as a matter of fact,
creativity,
these are examples.
Cooperation.
These are examples here.
We had those.
Yeah. So integrity is not something that you kind of choose one way or another. I mean, you do choose to have or to not have an intention or a commitment to living in integrity, but you don't make the choice of having integrity. Integrity is something that has to be cultivated. And strengthened and supported and nourished. And the way that happens is that there are certain qualities that will predispose you to experiencing more integrity. So we just want to mention a few of what we consider these essential qualities and some of the practices maybe that can strengthen these qualities. So these are not necessarily core values, although some of them could be. But if you really want to cultivate integrity in your life, then these are some of the things that it would really behoove you to try to consciously strengthen, to make that decision, to do that, and to declare that to yourself and maybe even to other people. So here's what the few that we came up with. Linda's already mentioned some of them. Honesty, trustworthiness. So we often look for somebody that is trustworthy or that we can trust, but are we committed to our own trustworthiness? Can we be worthy of receiving another person's trust? Vulnerability.
And if we violate it, fix it right away.
Well, absolutely.
Immediate repair.
And that goes to the next one, which has to do with responsibility. And responsibility means that I accept the authority within me to create repairs or to heal breakdowns that may have occurred from my own irresponsibility or negligence. Am I willing to accept that responsibility? And if I don't know how to repair it, to be responsible for learning how to do that. Vulnerability, the willingness to be open and honest about my deeper feelings. Compassion for other people. Compassion for myself.
Empathy would go with that one.
Right. Commitment, which is something that we've spoken a little bit about. Generosity, cultivating the quality of generosity, which means that rather than looking to other people from the question of what is it that I can get out of this interaction, what can I get from this person, what's in it for me. Not that there's anything wrong with wanting to get something in out of a relationship. We all want that. We wouldn't want to be in relationships if we didn't think that there was something in it for us. But generosity means that I'm going to be predisposed to also consider other people's well-being when I make choices. I don't have to always put that ahead of my own desires, but the more I can do that, the more that I can be generous of spirit with other people, the more trustworthy they're going to see me as being. So that's what we refer to as enlightened self-interest.
So I want to just mention that back in the old days, there was a word that would describe these qualities that are so closely related to living with a life of integrity. And the word is virtue, virtues. It went out of vogue because it was used in a moral sense, in a religious sense, like a duty, obligation, have to, and you're in trouble if you don't live out of this way of being with these qualities. We're not meaning to lay a trip on you or on ourselves or on each other, that it's not a have to. This is a get to. This is the ticket to a great relationship. This is a ticket to the great life that we long for, but we're not exactly sure what it is that we need to be doing with our one wild and precious life and what we need to be doing with our wild and precious relationship. And so we hope that our talk and our inquiry with you today has helped you to connect the dots to what is required for yourself, your own work, and the work for you to do with your partner. Because this is the direct line to be able to have a fulfilling life and a very high-functioning relationship that is going to really fill you both with a lot of joy. So I wish that for you, to take this on as an area of study. I'm assuming that you've already been doing some of it, but if our talk today stimulated you to up-level and reach higher, I'd be thrilled to hear from you about that, and I'm wishing you all the best. You going to announce the topic for next week?
No.
No?
I think
leave
you
it a
are.
mystery? Well, we have had requests from the network that people would like us to do a guided visualization. Some people have trouble settling down from their hectic day. Sometimes people are overstimulated from their screen time, and they would tune into it to settle down at the end of the day, or maybe you need a break in the middle of the day, and to have soothing, guided visualization and meditation would be helpful. So we're going to talk about a mindfulness practice, and Charlie's going to lead you through one for you to settle down, and you can use it as much as you like. So don't forget, we've got 3 ebooks that you can sign up and get for free by coming to our website. And please tell your friends about our talk today. If you think there's somebody that would especially appreciate it, send them a message, and we'll see you next week.
Adios.